Hello everyone, and welcome to another vlog. I am in San Carlos, California at the Hiller Aviation Museum, and we're going to go ahead and take a look inside at all of their artifacts from airplanes and flights across a lot of the 20th century and even into this century. So come along with me, we'll go take a look and see what they have and go from there. And just off the bat, they have this statue of Thaddeus Kearns, who was a Chico, California area early pilot and who tested quite a few different planes, it looks like, and unfortunately sadly passed away doing this exact thing. But that's why they have the statue of him right here with the early glider just below the museum sign. So we'll go ahead and go into the Hiller Aviation Museum and see what they have inside. Let's go take a look. So right off the bat, of course, there are quite a few planes that you can see. Just looking at this room, it's filled with planes throughout the ages, and they basically go in a chronological order as well. But you can see they have quite a few flyers and even a beacon down there and some helicopters. But when you initially start off, you go with early vehicles, actually, and then move on to the very early prototypes for the different planes that they had. This very exposed one is, I read that sign too fast, but basically a early flyer. You can see you were extremely out in the elements with these, and a lot of them are just based on just the core kind of bare bones approach to flight. This one has an engine on it. This is the Curtiss Model D Pusher, so it's a replica of that, and once again it's a single person flyer, and you have the pilot here with the steering and an engine in the back, so kind of more advanced from just the early flyers that they had. But again, very exposed, very out there in the elements with these early plane types. As you can see, this would not be for the faint of heart. I know there's no way I could ever do this. Just look at how exposed you are. Even looking at how high up these models are, which is not that high, it makes me feel like, oof, I would not be able to do that at all. But luckily, early versions of these flyers were able to do this no problem, and it seems like the very earliest flyers might not have even worn goggles, as we see here. But yeah, very exposed, not the safest. And then we move over here to the Aerocycloid, a 1908 version. This was actually a San Francisco area flyer, but very unique look. This didn't quite take off, pun intended, later on, with the wheels turning and a very just vertical approach towards the plane. And now we get into some of the World War I replicas that they have at the museums that we see. We go from what was the kind of precursor to these to kind of quickly changing the approach towards looking more like the planes we recognize today, including helicopters as well. So the early versions of that, and then the early warplanes that were used in World War I. So they have quite a few of these on display here, and you can see kind of exactly how this would have looked. Again, single flyer would have flown this, and they have an approach. We'll take a look and see what it looks like actually inside, climbing aboard. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Just walk around here. Still a decently small plane for these early 20th century ones. You have a lot of engines over here from the earliest engines, and then the plane itself. And this is what it would look like from the perspective of the pilot. And you can see here, even with the guns that would have been on the plane as well, some of the controls that they had, as well as the joystick to maneuver the plane. Hopefully that's the technical term, but you can see the wingspan isn't incredibly huge, and you are once again with these early planes very exposed. They do have the beacon here. You see these, these are common at airports even today, and there are still requirements that they come on, especially with low visibility days, and of course at night. So acts just like lighthouses do for ships, and these beacons are still a part of aviation today. And this helicopter section is actually pretty interesting. You can see here an early prototype for an Army helicopter. I believe this was for World War II, but you can see the huge blades here, but the pilot would once again be extremely exposed on this. I know there's no way I could actually use this. You can actually see this helicopter in use, and there is no way I'd be able to maneuver this thing or use it. You are extremely exposed. For somebody who's afraid of heights like myself, this would be terrifying, but looks like people did actually test and use this form of a helicopter. So you really get to know your elements very well when you're this exposed. And they actually have very, very long blades, which I guess would make sense with very limited helicopter. Here is kind of a more enclosed classic helicopter, but also still pretty darn exposed, and with kind of easy, I say easy, I shouldn't say that, enough maneuvers, but a joystick essentially. This is interesting. This was a prototype for a commuter helicopter. This one could actually come in handy nowadays. There's also a medevac helicopter here, so the patient would be, once again, very exposed in the backside here. Hopefully they're not aware of how high up they are, and you have the pilot over there. So for an emergency, they had this medevac helicopter where the person would be hoisted in and remain on the back here. Again, this does not look ideal for the patient, very exposed, but when you're in a pinch, that's what this is for. And this helicopter actually reminds me of in Batman, like the 1966 Batman. Him and Robin had a helicopter like this, as I recall, but this is kind of this is also meant to be more of a commuter helicopter with the big bubble kind of windows that they have for the pilot and the passenger. And yeah, these do look, they look like they take off pretty easily. They look very light, like light aircraft. And there's a small aircraft here as well. This looks like a small, sort of like almost like a commuter plane, single-person commuter plane that was in production, and you can see here what that would have looked like. And then this was interesting. They have a simulator for World War II era. This was a plane simulation that was grounded. You can see some of the controls that the pilots would have been tested with out here, and those controls are also inside of this as well. So again, it was grounded. It never actually would take off. It was just a way to ensure that a pilot knew how to maneuver a plane and knew how to monitor all of these controls that you see here, which even, back then, there are a lot of controls and things to be aware of while flying. So, unsurprisingly, you'd have to simulate that first on the ground. There's even controls on the right-hand side here. They're just everywhere. And speaking of controls, here's another simulation helicopter that they have on the floor. So you have these. I don't know what any of these controls actually do or how to monitor anything. I recognize fuel, for instance, but of course there's a lot of other things to be aware of. And this is just what it looks like inside for the pilot. And this is not actually running correctly, but in a second we'll see the simulation, which again, this is not, I thought this was me flying this. It's not. It's just crashing. This still probably would have happened if I, did this simulation, but this is just sort of what plays on the simulator. I'm going to say it's not actually running correctly, and that's not a a result of me at all. But I know this would probably be also what would happen if I tried to do this simulation, if it was actually running correctly. So yeah, a lot of crashes. It just loops on that. And then this was interesting. They have this plane that went around the world, I believe in the 1980s. So they have that full plane here. We'll take a peek inside as well. There's a sign that says they asked Apple if they could use one of their laptops, which were back ordered. So Apple said you could borrow one from us. We don't have any to sell to you, but if you put Apple inside on the plane, that's good advertising. So that's what they did. And the laptop, of course, afterwards, Apple said, actually, you know what? We can't keep this because it's been used. So I guess the intention was to give it to the pilot all along. But you see the flight path that this plane took, and it did circumnavigate the world. So pretty good. This is the whole plane itself. Nothing too huge, but it went to, of course, a lot of locations and flew just fine. And we'll take a peek inside. It's funny, it actually almost looks like an RV inside. I mean, it looks pretty comfortable if you're going to be traveling around the world, but the inside could be mistaken for an RV. But again, looks pretty comfy for, if you have to go around the world. Not too bad. And unfortunately, can't actually walk in, but here's another peek as much as I could get inside. It's tables, seats, small kitchen area, kind of like magazines, seating areas, a phone, of course, all the high tech of the 80s. Hopefully they had also like some form of entertainment on board. And this has to be my favorite section of any museum, the space section. You got a capsule here and a couple spacesuits. We'll take a closer look at both of these. The first thing is this spacesuit over here, which is an Apollo spacesuit, and it's Neil Armstrong. So definitely recognizable here. So you have the spacesuit itself, and then a dedication plaque below, with talking about the actual date of the space flight, and this is a statue of scans made of Neil Armstrong's spacesuit, hence why it's exposed. So not the real thing, but a full replica of it. So pretty cool. That's what it would have looked like. Here's a closer look of a replica of the Apollo capsule that the astronauts would have traveled in back to Earth. And then there is kind of like the early astronauts wore. You have an astronaut suit, and this one actually was exposed outside, as you could see outside the ship, which I would have hated. Yeah, I would not want to be out in space on my own with just this device and suit. You can see what it looks like, just how out there you are, how high up you are. Couldn't do it. Alright, so over here they have an exposed engine, so you can see the power unit itself and all of the various aspects of a power unit for the average plane. And then they have here the generator, the compressor itself, the air compressor, fuel distribution manifold, combustion section, the hot section. So a lot going on, of course, to get the plane off the ground. But this is a pretty good dissection of what these engines would have looked like. And of course they're pretty complex. A lot of moving parts and a lot of fans needed for these moving parts for the aircraft itself. And then here is a prototype of an Airbus kind of a flight option, like a quick travel flight option. So self-piloted. It does look a lot like a drone, I notice. So pretty much it would be an electric self-powered flight option. So So this is the prototype itself. You can see the breakdown of what that would have looked like. And its capacity is actually just single passenger. So you'd have to be a pretty brave passenger to fly solo on this, and I can't get over just how much this looks like a drone. So you'd be solo in the air in this. I couldn't do it, but let me know if you would want to test this. It would be both exhilarating and terrifying to me to be in this solo, self-piloted aircraft, but nonetheless. Alright, and then here are some models that they have towards the end of the museum. Almost chronological. It looks like models of a lot of military aircraft through the years. So, of course, an extensive display here, and again, it looks like it goes through kind of like the decades of military aircraft, fighter jets, etc. So, unsurprisingly, quite the collection here, as you can see. Oh, it keeps going too. You also have helicopters as well, and then there's a few commercial aircraft. No, wait, that's still Air Force. Alright, and so now we will look at an actual plane cockpit itself. This is a dissected, actual commercial jet that they have in the back of the museum that you can explore. So we'll go ahead and walk into that. Of course, walking up to it directly, it's larger than you would expect because we're so used to just boarding planes through the gangway that you don't usually go right up to it, and this is pretty big. I think this is from the early 80s, if I recall. And here's what the first class would have looked like on this plane. So quite a bit of aisle room and kind of more dated seats than we're used to with first class or even business class now, but this was flying in style in the early 80s. We'll go ahead and head up the stairway to the cockpit level of the plane and go inside the cockpit itself. But here you see another seating section. It looks like for first class also, with the seats facing each other and of course ample leg room. But we'll go ahead and walk this way because this is the coolest part. So we see the cockpit itself for this plane. So unsurprisingly, I mean, they look, I want to say, decently similar now, just with more screens and computers versus these older measurements devices. But a lot of things, of course, to monitor. There's a chair here on the side to monitor quite a few different things, and a lot of buttons and controls there. Of course, I've never taken flight lessons, so I don't know what any of these are, but you have the main board here, the captain's seat with the steering and the co-pilot as well. All your controls over here. And all of the various, again, flight instruments and things to be aware of. This room is extensive with controls. Kind of crazy how many. And equipment, unsurprisingly. Yeah, it always amazes me just how much is actually in here. How many controls and things. So, unsurprisingly, it takes a lot of skill to be a pilot. You definitely want a skilled pilot flying your plane. Yeah, not only are the controls sort of everywhere around you where you're sitting, they're also above you. So quite a few controls here as well. The planes must come with a pretty substantial manual. Just think of your car manual and look at how many controls are on an aircraft, a commercial aircraft. And it actually amazes me also just how high up this is too. Like how high just the plane sitting, how high up it is for the pilot and co-pilot, and the windows don't have to be that large, which is pretty amazing. You're mainly going off of all of these many controls, so very impressive to be here. It's not a thing you can see or do every day, unless of course you're a pilot. But very cool to see in this museum that they have the hands-on, a dissected commercial jet that you can visit and look at up close and pretend that you're a pilot. And they even have this runway meant for kids to play with, and it looks like it would be so much fun to ride a bike on, even now. Who am I kidding? All right, well, that was actually a really interesting museum, and sorry if it's a little loud. The entrance is right by a freeway, but nonetheless, I've passed this museum quite a few times in the past, and I'm glad I finally stopped inside to take a look. A lot of really interesting things about flight history. You get inside of cockpits of helicopters and planes. That part's really cool. See them up close. Seeing the control panels up close. I think entering that 747 in the back and going to the cockpit was my favorite part. But let me know I do think entering that 747 in the cockpit in the back was my favorite part. But let me know what your favorite part was. But anyway, if you're ever in San Carlos, go ahead and visit this museum. It's really interesting. It's the Hiller Aviation Museum. Thanks for watching this channel. Please subscribe to this channel. I do lots of other types of videos across a range of things, theme parks, podcast style videos with friends, interesting things like this, museums, etc. So please subscribe. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.